Welcome to Independent Green Party Green TV, the show that focuses on independent Green Party and Green Party candidates for local, state, and federal office, and positive Green New Deal solutions for the economy, eco-jobs for the economy, solar jobs, wind jobs, geothermal jobs, rail jobs, conservation jobs, efficiency jobs. Cut taxpayer subsidies to zero for fossil fuel, big oil, big auto, big asphalt. Build green neighborhoods, walkable, bikeable, pedestrian-friendly communities. The Green Party has 5 candidates seeking the nomination of the Green Party for President of the United States. They are Dr. Jill Stein, Dr. Bill Kreml, Dr. Kent Mesplay, Miss SKCM Curry, and Daryl Cherney. On today's Green Party Green TV, Dr. Jill Stein, in her own words, the Green Party is one of only 4 truly national political parties in the United States. That's according to the CIA's World Factbook. Polls show overwhelming support for a 3rd major party. The Green Party is best positioned to become that next major party in the United States. Dr. Jill Stein was the Green Party nominee for president in 2012. She made history. Dr. Jill Stein received the most votes of any woman candidate in a general election for United States president.
I would like to introduce to you somebody who has the ability to be a genuine change agent, a genuine agent for hope in this country, Dr. Jill Stein, seeking the candidacy for the Green Party of the United States for President of the United States of America. Please welcome Jill Stein.
Thank you so much to Ben Mansky, who himself has been such a force for change and for democracy and for the workers' rights movement and really the development of an incredible social movement and a political movement in the form of the Green Party as the electoral force for that social movement across the country. So it's really an honor to be here today with all of you, and especially to be here with that team from Massachusetts that has worked so hard to provide an alternative for justice, for democracy, for single-payer health care, for a real global vision of justice and peace. And we have worked to provide that in several elections over the past 10 years. In many ways, we've been ahead of the curve. It's very exciting now to see that the curve is catching up to us, and we were just delighted to be able to bring our team to this incredible historic moment when, as a country, we are asking, what should our political system be about? Because what it's about now is not the country that we intend to be. So we stand here today at a time of great crisis in our nation and a time of incredible potential for change. We're facing unprecedented problems, converging problems in our economy, our environment, in human rights, and in the quest for peace. The American people are ready to meet those challenges, but so many of us, I dare say most of us, have lost confidence in our political system, in the political establishment, and in the leaders in Washington, D.C. Because those leaders have given us what? Massive bailouts for Wall Street, layoffs for Main Street, declining wages for workers, wars for oil abroad, and attacks on Medicare and Social Security, the foundation of our justice system and a secure future. They're privatizing education, rolling back civil liberties and racial justice, plundering the environment, and driving us towards a calamity of climate change. But in response, the American people are standing up in a way we haven't seen in generations, and they are providing the leadership that's not coming from the political elite. And they are realizing, we are all realizing, that we the people have to take charge because the political parties that are serving the top 1% are not going to solve the problems that the rest of us face. And we need people in Washington who will refuse to be bought by lobbyist money and for whom change is not just a slogan. My name is Jill Stein, and all of this is why I'm here today to announce my candidacy for President of the United States. I'm running because America deserves a New Deal, a Green New Deal, that provides a secure future for we the people and the planet that we depend on. So here are 5 key pieces to the Green New Deal that we must achieve, that times demand, that justice demands, and we can achieve them with your support. So first, it's time to end unemployment in America. It's not only a crisis for our families and our communities, it's an incredible drag on our economy. Like FDR's New Deal that helped us out of the Great Depression, the Green New Deal directly creates jobs. It will put 25 million people back to work, it will end the Bush-Obama recession, and it will jumpstart the green economy for the 21st century. The jobs that it creates will build a stable, renewable energy economy that provides real national security and makes wars for oil obsolete. It will ensure that our energy dollars stay right here in America, creating jobs. And it will build public transportation, clean manufacturing, and sustainable agriculture as other pieces of this sustainable economy. Second, it's time for the United States, as the richest country in the world, to catch up to the rest of the community of developed nations and provide health care for everyone as a human right. We can do this through a Medicare for All system that will not only provide quality, comprehensive health care for everyone, but it will save us trillions of dollars by streamlining the massive and wasteful health insurance bureaucracy and by putting an end to runaway medical inflation. Third, we can forgive the crushing student debt burden and liberate an entire generation of young people who are being turned into indentured servants. And we can provide tuition-free education from kindergarten through college, which is an investment in our future that will pay back enormously. Fourth, we can establish an immediate moratorium on home foreclosures. And we can stop predatory banks from throwing one more family out of their homes. And we can require these banks to adjust the balances on the principal to the current market value, so that banks and not just homeowners are bearing the burden of the bank's own fraud and abuse that started the foreclosure crisis to start with. And finally, we can bring the troops home from Iraq and Afghanistan now, and that means all the troops, including the private security contractors. This allows us to redirect trillions of dollars that have been wasted over the past decade. Instead, we can direct them to the urgent human needs here at home instead of endless expanding wars and the bloated military. By entering into the presidential dialogue, we will force real issues into the debate and build the movement for all the critical solutions that the Wall Street politicians are trying to keep off the table. Because if they get on the table, we're going to bring them into reality. They are too good to stop, which is why the Wall Street politicians do not want us to mention them. But we are going to do exactly that. We are going to give people a choice and a voice in this election and enable them to go to the polls and vote to take their government back and get it working for we the people. I want to say a few words now as a mother and a medical doctor, because that's the perspective from which I entered the political process about 20 years ago, and that's the perspective that keeps me in this process. As a doctor, I saw that our healthcare system, our broken healthcare system, was desperately failing to meet the needs of the people who urgently need it. And as a mother, I was especially concerned about the new disease epidemics descending on our children, a rising tide of obesity and diabetes and asthma and cancer and learning disabilities and autism and more. As a practicing physician, I became impatient with simply dispensing pills in the clinic and sending people back out to the very things in the community that were causing those problems in the first place. The air pollution, the toxic chemicals, community violence, degraded nutrition, the car-centered transportation system, and above all, poverty. I thought, if only our elected officials knew how many human tragedies could be completely prevented by fixing those conditions in the community, I thought surely they would do something. So I spent years working to persuade elected officials to act. But slowly I realized that in this system, in order to persuade elected officials, you need to shower them, not with information, not with heartfelt community concerns, not with strong constituencies in every community that was begging for those changes. Instead, you needed to shower them with bundles of campaign checks. And that was my wake-up call. That if we want to prevent needless harm to our children, if we want to get the health care system we need, or the education system, or the jobs, we need first to fix the broken political system. 20 years later, as a mother and a medical doctor, I see that our kids are still struggling, not only with an epidemic of diseases that they should never have to have in the first place, but in every aspect of life. Struggling for decent schools, to stay safe in the streets, to afford a college education, to find a job and to get out of debt, and to have a livable climate to inhabit decades into the future. But they are losing the battle on every front. So people ask me, why do I keep fighting political battles in a rigged system? And the answer is simple. I keep fighting because when it comes to our children, mothers don't give up. Nor do fathers or grandmothers or grandfathers or sisters or brothers, for that matter. And young people today have not given up. And they are the ones that are really carrying the burden of this rigged political system. If they're not giving up, we're not giving up. Yeah. And in fact, young people are not only not giving up, they are standing up like never before, as we see so clearly in Zuccotti Square, and Freedom Square, and Dewey Square, and Grant Park, and Ogawa Plaza, and hundreds of other Occupy encampments around the country. And just like in the civil rights movement, when the young people stand up, the nation changes forever. And if more of us take a lesson from them, we are going to be an unstoppable force for what needs to happen in this country, in this election, and far beyond into the future. And that's why I'm here today, to ask you to be a part of this campaign, because we need the integrity and the vision of everyday people to create a future that works for all of us. Let's open up the doors on Capitol Hill and get the big money out and let the people back in to guide our way forward. That means the school teachers and the nurses and the truck drivers and the electricians and the students and the secretaries, the postal workers, the factory workers, the musicians, the farmers and the pharmacists, the people who repair and teach and cook and heal and do the honest work. Because when the people do the governing, not the lobbyists and the Wall Street executives, then we'll have a government that we can trust. So please go to my website, jillstein.org, and find out more about our people-powered campaign. And while you're there, join us and become part of it. It's time for a Green New Deal in America, a job for every worker, health care, education, and housing for every American, a livable planet for our children. On November 6th next year, let's take our democracy back and build the secure green future that we deserve and that is within our reach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill.
You're watching Independent Green Party, Green TV. I'm Kerry Campbell. You just heard from Dr. Jill Stein, one of 5 people seeking the Green Party nomination for President of the United States. Now, that video was Dr. Stein's announcement for president in 2012. Dr. Stein, Dr. Jill Stein, you heard her talk about the need for more trains and less traffic, positive eco-solutions for the economy. Dr. Stein is seeking the Green Party nomination for president again in 2016.
Joining me from Boston now is U.S. presidential candidate for the Green Party, Dr. Jill Stein. She was also a candidate for governor of Massachusetts in 2002 and 2010. Dr. Stein, welcome to The Heat.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Well, let me start with your neck of the woods. You're in the land of the Red Sox, and the Patriots, and the Celtics, all these great sports teams. So we know that in Boston, Massachusetts, we love competition. Americans seem to love competition, except maybe when it comes to politics. Would you agree?
Well, you know, I think Americans are clamoring for that competition. Americans, by large numbers, are really asking for more choices in our electoral system. Unfortunately, it's that electoral system and it's the big corporate media that is wedded to this idea that there can only be 2 choices. And I think the American people have had quite enough of that.
Well, you used the word wedded, so let me use that as well. There's a lot of people who believe that both of these parties are wedded to special interests. So you get Republicans and Republican lights, or perhaps the other concept is that they're so ideologically distinct and separate that they can't get along, they can't actually get anything done. Which camp do you fall into, or do you think there's another belief out there?
You know, to my mind, the common denominator here is that both wings of the political establishment are bought and paid for by big corporate interests and by Wall Street. So those are the interests that are advanced. And though the 2 parties have different narratives, to look at their track record, they're actually quite the same. And under Democrats as under Republicans, we've continued to accelerate in the wrong direction. The American people continue to lose jobs, wages continue to decline. Millions have lost their homes already, millions more are on track. The cost of health care and higher education continues to skyrocket. We have an entire generation that are effectively indentured servants who are saddled by these student loans and don't have jobs that pay enough for the students to pay them back. Our civil liberties are under attack and the climate is in meltdown. To look at the policies of Barack Obama on most critical issues, he's actually embraced the policies of George Bush and in fact has even gone further.
How do things change under a Stein presidency? Because if you come to Washington, somehow everything falls into place, you become the next president of the United States, which most people would say is unlikely. But if that were to happen, how could you come and govern when those are the 2 parties in power? I mean, you'd have to deal with them. Isn't that part of the problem?
Exactly. It is exactly the core of the problem. And the fortunate thing is that the American people are begging to be brought into the equation, not only to have a meaningful vote in this election, but also to be able to have a meaningful voice in the daily workings of our country and of our democracy. So instead of simply being the commander-in-chief, the president, if he or she wanted, could actually be the organizer-in-chief. And the president could clarify what bills are coming up, what the clear core meaning and importance of those bills are, and enable everyday people to weigh in with their congressmen and women and their senators so that we, the people, are actually instructing our representatives how to represent us. Now, this actually happens. It tends to be the exception rather than the rule. But if the president was actually serving in that role of organizer-in-chief, this could be the way that Washington could actually work. A recent example is the SOPA bill, the Stop Online Piracy Act, where it was considered a slam dunk, the internet was going to be censored, and private corporations were going to benefit. Word got out, and the American people weighed in, and that bill was stopped on a dime.
You're watching Independent Green Party, Green TV. Dr. Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president, in her own words. Dr. Stein is one of 5 people seeking the Green Party nomination for President of the United States. Again, those are Dr. Bill Krimmel, Dr. Kent Mesplay, Miss SKCM Curry, and Daryl Cherney. Before we get back to Dr. Jill Stein, the Independent Green Party is recruiting candidates for 2016. If you want to be an Independent Green Party candidate for local, state, or federal office, you can reach the Independent Green Party at the Independent Green Party webpage, www.votejoinrun.us. You can contact the Independent Green Party at 703-351-1235. You can email the Independent Green Party State Chairman, Joseph P. Otto, at usrepublic@aol.com. Check out the Independent Greens YouTube channel or visit the Indy Green Party Facebook page. This is Independent Green Party Green TV.
Hi, I'm Jill Stein. I'm running for president with the Green Party. I'm asking for your vote in November, and I wanted to give you a little bit of my background and tell you why I'm running. I'm a mother and a medical doctor, and I have about 25 years of clinical practice behind me. And I had been in that practice for about 10 years or so when I really felt like things just weren't going right. I had actually just turned 40 and saw the world going in a direction that didn't look so good in terms of our economy and jobs and the healthcare system, which was clearly broken, and especially in terms of our health. And I found as a doctor in the clinic and a doctor involved in my community that we were seeing this epidemic of children's diseases, of learning disabilities and attention deficit disorders and cancer and asthma, and then obesity and diabetes. And what was happening? Our genes weren't changing, but our health was kind of heading in the very wrong direction. So I got to work with Physicians for Social Responsibility and various community groups. Some of us, part of what we did was to try to clean up our incinerators and our coal plants because we learned that this was contributing to some toxic exposures that were having an impact and were the drivers of some of those health conditions. And, we looked at some of the causes, and I thought, well, gee, I'm a doctor and involved with the community. I'll go talk to my legislator, which I did. And I discovered it really didn't matter because having life-saving and money-saving solutions was not what politics was about, that it was really about who had the money. And that was really the driver of our political system and policy. I found that incredibly frustrating as a mother. I also saw our healthcare system in incredible trouble, and yet we had a Medicare for All system that was really within our reach. It would save us a lot of money, improve our health and the healthcare system, and that too was a no-go with our politicians, as in the past, in the recent administration, taking Medicare for All off the table, which is what the White House did. So, the long and the short of it, when people ask me what kind of medicine I'm practicing now, I say I'm practicing political medicine because it really is the mother of all sicknesses. If we're going to fix these problems, and there are great solutions for all of them, we have to first fix the broken political system, and let's make that work. In short, that's why I'm running, because there are great solutions out there, and we need to change the political system as part of the way forward to actually implement those good solutions. So I ask you to go to my website, jillstein.org, and please join the team if this makes sense to you, that we need a healthy political system which is fundamentally reformed and fundamentally different from the corporate mainstream parties. That this is the way forward to get those solutions that we need, be part of that solution. You can make a contribution to the campaign, you can volunteer, you can network, get on Facebook, like, share, and repost, and let's get the word out and go viral. And we can use this election to turn a breaking point into a tipping point and start to take back the promise of our democracy and the peaceful, just, green future that really is within our reach. Thank you so much.
That's Dr. Jill Stein, Green Party candidate, seeking the Green Party nomination for President of the United States. You're watching Independent Green Party, Green TV. This episode, Dr. Jill Stein, Green Party, in her own words.
Hello, friends, family, and community. I'm Jill Stein, candidate for president with the Green Party. I'm checking in for the first time by video to bring you directly the voice of our campaign for democracy, peace, and justice in the 2012 election. In the holiday season, there's always talk about hope, so I wanted to offer a few words about real hope and the change that hope depends on. I'm not talking about the hype of the last election, where hope was a slogan and change was something to believe in, but not actually to accomplish. I'm talking about real hope for deep change, the kind that's breaking out all over because so many people like you are standing up and refusing to accept this unprecedented state of inequality, austerity, and perpetual war that we're in. Instead, you are demanding the peaceful, just, green future that we all deserve. And that is the real source of hope, not only for the holidays, but for every day going forward to a better future that is within our reach. I want to mention briefly 3 policy changes announced by the White House last week going into the holiday season. Changes that continue taking us in the wrong direction. First, President Obama announced that he will sign the National Defense Authorization Act. This allows the president to basically take away your right to a trial by jury, the presumption of your innocence, and your protection against the use of the military against you as a citizen on U.S. soil. The bill allows you to be declared essentially an enemy of the state based on mere suspicion on the part of this or any future president. No evidence needs to be produced to justify the president's suspicion. You don't even need to be accused of a crime, nor tried and found guilty. In signing the law, President Obama will basically eliminate your rights guaranteed in the 6th, 7th, and 8th Amendments of our federal Constitution. Second, the president retreated from his previous position on the Keystone Pipeline. We are teetering on the brink of climate catastrophe, and the president had rightly promised to veto any legislation advancing the pipeline, but no longer. In a reversal, the White House announced its agreement for a rush decision on the pipeline as a sweetener in a deal to continue the payroll tax cut for 2 months, as if our climate future could be thrown around like a small bargaining chip. It demonstrates again the willingness of the Obama White House to sell out the climate for political convenience. Third, the president abandoned the promise of health care for all as he backed away from a single high-quality national health insurance standard under the Affordable Care Act. Instead, state governments will be allowed to set lower standards. And there was one other piece of critical news last weekend in the form of new census data that shows what millions of you already know from your own hard experience, that nearly 1/3 of Americans are now living in or near the poverty level. That so many are in poverty while the wealthy few are richer than ever makes it clearer than ever that it's time for real change. Fortunately, that force for change is rising up across the nation. It's thriving in the Wisconsin rallies against austerity, in the heroic stand of the Occupy movements for our First Amendment rights against brutal police repression. It's in the foreclosure protests that are keeping families in their homes across the country. It's going strong in the mass arrests at the White House protesting the president's failure to stop the Keystone Pipeline. It's surging among workers demanding jobs, good wages, and benefits from corporations that are squeezing ever more profit from workers who've been left behind. It's rising up among students standing up for tuition-free higher education and debt forgiveness. And it's breaking out in the movement for a constitutional amendment to guarantee that we, the people, people, not the corporations, decide our common future. And that spirit is alive and well in this campaign. Together, we are bringing that vision into the 2012 presidential election. And we will be heard because it's now clear silence is not an effective political strategy. And the moment we stand up and vote our values, we begin to revive democracy and take our future back. So I thank you for all that you are doing to renew hope in the new year. I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. And in the meantime, please join our people-powered team at jillstein.org and encourage everyone you know to do the same, because the future of all of us is on the line. So let's get started building the peaceful, just, green future that we all deserve. Thank you so much, and happy holidays.
You're watching Dr. Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for President of the United States, one of 5 seeking the Green Party nomination for U.S. President. Dr. Jill Stein, in her own words, Dr. Jill Stein of the Green Party. The Green Party has won ballot status in almost half the United States, with successful campaigns statewide in various states. In the rest of the nation, the Green Party must petition to get on the ballot.
The biggest way people give up power is by not knowing that we have it to start with. Well, we've got it, and we're going to use it. And it doesn't come from the big corporate political parties that are bought and paid for by Wall Street. Their choices are not our choices. Their candidates are not our candidates. Their economy is not our economy. Their government is not our government. Their prisons are not our prisons. Their police are not our police. And their endless wars are not our wars. And their recovery for the few is not our recovery. The 1% is quaking in their boots because we're waking up to the fact that we have the power and we're going to use it. We have the power to make the minimum wage a living wage. We have the power to turn the tide on climate change. We have the power to create a welcoming path to citizenship. We have the power to end the racist war on drugs. It's in our hands. Together, we can build a world that puts people and the planet and peace over profit. That's in our hands. Our power to create this new world. It's not in our hopes. It's not in our dreams. It's in our hands. Thank you.
Independent Green Party, Green TV with Dr. Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for President of the United States. Thank you for watching our show. We look forward to seeing you next time on Green TV.